Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. The organic and local food marketplace is getting crowded, and a Bloomington institution is struggling.
Bloomingfoods did such a good job educating the public, and people want natural foods, they want whole foods.
A look at the local food business and whether each place will be able to find its niche and survive the increasing competition. Governor Pence officially announced his bid for re-election this week. The controversy over his state-run news service and RFRA is fading, but how will it impact his campaign? Coming up, we'll go live to the State House for more. Plus, the EPA's proposed new fuel standards could affect not only how much you pay at the pump, but also at the grocery store.
We're just disappointed that the EPA didn't follow the standard. They chose to arbitrarily pick another number.
Indiana is a leading ethanol producing state. Ahead, what's next in the renewable fuel debate? Those stories and the latest news headlines from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. The organic and local grocery trend has been gaining popularity across the nation and right here in Indiana. Larger stores like Kroger are offering more locally grown products. Specialized stores are also popping up across the state, and that's making it hard for smaller organizations to keep up. That struggle is especially pronounced in Bloomington, where a 20% drop in business has caused Bloomingfoods to lay off more than a dozen of its managers and undergo major structural changes. Casey Kuhn takes a look at what's next for Bloomingfoods and what lessons it could teach other communities about how to handle competition in the local foods industry.
The shelves at Bloomingfoods are lined with products covered in labels: organic, local, and all natural, to name a few. The local food cooperative has been around since the 70s and caters to a community that values health food.
Bloomingfoods did such a good job educating the public, and people want natural foods, they want whole foods, they want organic, local foods.
But lately, competition in the natural foods market has forced Bloomingfoods to reevaluate how business is done. Whole Foods is making plans to move in on the city's west side, and Indianapolis-based Green Bean Natural Food Delivery Service came to Bloomington this past month.
Bloomington is such an amazing market for us because we already have a market of people who care about eating healthy foods.
The biggest competition so far seems to be coming from the Colorado-based company Lucky's Market, which recently opened a store on the south side.
College towns are a good draw. We noticed that a lot of kids are wanting to eat healthier, and there was a need for this for the community.
Since Lucky's opened, Bloomingfoods business has dropped 20%.
Lucky's has opened. Kroger is already doing a pretty good job expanding their natural foods selection. We have advance warning that Whole Foods might be coming in. We might have Fresh Time coming in. So all of this is going to present a challenge to the co-op to stay open.
Despite the setbacks for some businesses, state agriculture officials say they're still confident in the local foods market.
This year, when I met with some key executives with some of the larger retailers, they're telling me that their organic side of the business will more than double next year.
David King manages the Indiana Grown program. Starting next month, the state-funded program will amp up promotion of local produce by rebranding it as Indiana Grown. King believes the high demand for organic and natural foods is more than just a trend.
Organic is not a fad. I mean, we've seen some fads. You know, in the local industry, we saw some carb fads, low carb, high carb fads, but organic has been so closely tied to a lifestyle. So I project that it's going to continue to grow probably for the next 10 years.
That prediction is what's causing other sellers to get into the market. Food co-ops are being formed in Columbus, Richmond, and Terre Haute.
Terra Foods cooperative market can provide a really good, very uniquely Terre Haute experience.
The Terra Foods Co-op has no storefront yet, and board members have been working since 2009 to get Terra Foods up and running.
We are in site selection process now and negotiation for a site, so fingers crossed and all things hoping that we'll be able to make an announcement very soon.
Terra Foods organizers say they aren't worried about competition, although they recognize keeping a hold on the local foods market won't be easy. Several years down the road, they could find themselves asking the same question Bloomingfoods management is asking now.
What can we offer that other grocery stores can't? I think it's the cooperative business model, the fact that the owners of the co-op help shape its policy and its decision making. That's what appeals to me about it. I want to have some direct influence over my own food supply, and the co-op is a way for me to do it.
Whether that's enough depends on the customer. Some customers say they're loyal to Bloomingfoods. Others say where they shop will depend on more tangible factors.
I like it because it's smaller. Actually, I don't like big stores. The new Kroger to me feels like an airport.
Honestly, I do prefer Lucky's over Bloomingfoods because it's a little bit cheaper and they have a bigger selection, but I'm a vegetarian and it's like a lot more veggie options like tofu, seitan, and all that stuff that you can find at Kroger, but it's not as good as the stuff here.
Bloomingfoods is currently operating under an acting general manager from the National Co-op Grocers as it reorganizes. A public meeting for Bloomingfoods will take place Monday evening at the Convention Center downtown. All member owners will be invited and the acting general manager will be there to answer questions. Mike Pence says he's ready for a fight to win re-election. We've known for several weeks that the governor would seek a second term, but he officially announced his bid at the state GOP spring fundraising dinner yesterday. As Barbara Brozier reports, the way the governor's announcement was received could be a sign of what's to come during his campaign.
Pence must go! Pence must go!
Even before the governor made his announcement, protesters were calling for him to be fired.
Pence must go! Pence must go!
The last few months of Mike Pence's term have been marked by controversy and criticism, from the proposed state-run news service to his handling of the religious freedom bill. And State Democratic Party Chair John Zodi says Pence's actions have left the Hoosier middle class angry.
Indiana families want to see solutions, and they are tired of the mismanagement and out-of-touch policies of the Pence administration.
Governor Pence acknowledged that he bears some responsibility for that controversy, but says he's proved that Republican leadership works and is ready to, in his words, take on those who would misrepresent his record and trash Indiana.
If our opponents choose to talk about our record, we'll return the favor. And we'll make sure by Election Day that the choice is clear.
Pence is currently unopposed in the GOP primary.
And we now go live to reporter Brandon Smith at the State House for more on the upcoming gubernatorial campaigns. Hi, Brandon.
Hey there, Joe.
You know, we're starting to get an idea now what the pool is going to look like with Governor Pence on the GOP side. On the Democrats, we have former House Speaker John Gregg, State Superintendent Glenda Ritz, and State Senator Karen Talion. What criticism is the governor likely to face with those opposing him?
Well, you can bet that RFRA, the Religious Freedom Bill, will be front and center in this campaign. John Gregg made it the centerpiece of his campaign announcement. And with State Superintendent Glenda Ritz in the race, Pence's education policies will also be a major criticism. Everything from his support of the voucher program, wanting to expand the voucher program, to the State Board of Education.
We saw some of those protesters there outside of the GOP dinner. Is that something, though, that is likely going to be seen across the whole state of Indiana, though?
Well, you know, that protest was organized by the State Democratic Party, so it's tough to get a sense of just how representative it is of the electorate across Indiana. But it's obvious that there is some unrest among Hoosiers about how Pence has done the job. Whether that will translate into votes against him is a little too far ahead of the election to really say for sure.
Now, of course, Pence is unopposed, and he's not likely to have any substantial contender in his party. But what about any pushback, though, in his own party?
I think he will see that. There was a recent Republican poll commissioned by Bill Osterly, the former CEO of Angie's List, who of course is no fan of Mike Pence, so take this with a huge grain of salt. But the poll was conducted by a well-respected GOP pollster, Christine Matthews, and it oversampled Republicans and still showed that Pence's favorability is only at 34%. And in a head-to-head matchup against both John Gregg and Glenda Ritz, he's virtually tied. Now, Pence points out that the only poll that really matters is on Election Day, and it's a long way until next November, but those numbers have to be concerning for him.
Well, and as we said, Governor Pence probably can't go into this campaign lightly. What's going to be his message now as he moves forward?
Well, based on what we heard at his announcement, it's almost a message of defiance, at least from the start. You know, he acknowledges that Indiana can do a little better, that he wants Indiana to do better, but he's standing behind his policies, he's standing by his record, and as he said, he's ready for a fight. He hasn't really gotten into the specifics of his campaign, what specific proposals he might have, but it is only just the beginning.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. Much of Indiana's corn crop doesn't become food, it becomes fuel. Ethanol producers in Indiana are speaking out on an EPA proposal that reduces the amount of biofuels that are required in gasoline. Details just ahead. And those cat videos you usually minimize when your boss walks in, turns out watching them might be good for you. There was actual research done on this, and we'll tell you all about it right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
We believe in the excitement of exploration. Life offers each of us adventures that are ours for the taking. We believe that children are born explorers who need trusted guides on their journeys of discovery. We believe in breaking new ground and in challenging assumptions. That important questions deserve to be explored deeply, fairly, and honestly. And we believe that who you are and where you come from should never stand in the way of what you want to be. This is who we are. This is what we believe. This is PBS.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Now, for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brosier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann will lead a delegation on an agricultural trade mission to China next week. The delegation will be made up of 18 representatives, including farmers and state officials. The group will visit 5 cities and make a stop at the Beijing Food Expo. Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann says finding markets for Indiana agricultural products is the main goal.
Well, to create some new demand for areas like popcorn, which is a newer product to Asia. We were very successful last year in Taiwan of developing that, and we think China, with 1.3 billion people, might also have interest in that.
The delegation leaves Monday and returns July 3rd. A judge is considering whether to move the trial for the man accused of killing IU student Hannah Wilson. The attorney for Daniel Messel argued for a change of venue because of all of the media attention surrounding the case, particularly reports linking the murder to the disappearance of IU student Lauren Spear 4 years ago and the murder of Jill Bierman in 2000. The prosecution countered that the case would result in outrage no matter where it was held, and that changing the location could present significant logistical challenges in terms of presenting certain evidence and giving jurors the right to view the crime scene. The judge's decision is expected closer to the time when the jury selection begins. The mayor of South Bend says his decision to come out as gay won't affect his job performance, but it might, in his words, do some good. In an essay published this week, Mayor Pete Buttigieg wrote, quote, "In the wake of the disastrous Religious Freedom Restoration Act episode here in Indiana earlier this year, we have an opportunity to demonstrate how a traditional religious state like ours can move forward." Buttigieg is the highest elected official in Indiana to come out. Democratic legislative leaders praised his announcement, calling it another step in breaking down barriers that have divided Hoosiers for too long. We first introduced you to rape survivor Jenny Wendt last year. Her perpetrator walked into a police station and confessed to the crime 9 years after it happened. But because Indiana has a 5-year statute of limitations for rape cases, he couldn't be prosecuted. Governor Mike Pence signed a bill into law this week that leaves the statute of limitations in place, but allows for 3 exceptions. If the state discovers new DNA evidence, if the state learns about a recording that can be used as evidence, or if a person confesses to the crime, like in Jenny Wendt's case. Indiana's private school voucher system cost the state $40 million last year, the Department of Education reports. That's up from just $15 million in the 2013-2014 school year. And the program actually saved the state $4 million in the first 2 years. That's because the vouchers are typically worth less than the money the state spends for a student to attend public school. But Indiana's voucher program has quickly grown to the 2nd largest in the country, as eligibility requirements have been widened. Last year, more than 29,000 students received vouchers to attend private schools. The Indiana State Department of Health is promising it won't leave the county where an HIV outbreak has infected 170 people anytime soon. The department unveiled a plan this week to transition from crisis control to long-term health care in Scott County. The state plans to continue hosting a one-stop shop clinic once a week in Austin, the small town that was the epicenter of the outbreak. But state officials say counties should not rely on state money to improve their health care. Several counties are considering creating needle exchanges to prevent their own HIV outbreaks. But Health Commissioner Jerome Adams says counties shouldn't count on those exchanges being approved.
A needle exchange is harm reduction. What I'd really like to do is focus on prevention. And so, again, just because we find that there's an epidemic in an area doesn't automatically mean that a needle exchange needs to be or must be part of that response, or that the locals, after a discussion and a determination of other resources, will determine for themselves that that's what they want as part of their response.
Instead of creating new healthcare services in high-risk communities, the health department aims to raise awareness about existing services across the state. The Federal Communications Commission is funding a program that will expand and support broadband internet access to around 60,000 homes and businesses in rural Indiana. Frontier Communications has accepted $22.8 million for the project and will receive that same amount annually for 6 years. The funding will bring internet access to all designated areas by the end of 2020. Starting this fall, students at Indiana State University will be able to earn a bachelor's degree in drone technology. The program will teach students how to use unmanned systems on air, land, and water. The new degree is the first of its kind in the state and only one of a small group found throughout the country. Park rangers are offering limited guided tours at Mount Baldy. The dune at National Lakeshore Park has been closed since 2013 when an Illinois boy was sucked into a sinkhole in the dune and buried for hours. The guided tours will focus on the scientific research that is happening at Mount Baldy, including the various scientific tools used to survey what's underneath the sand dune. Scientists have discovered that Mount Baldy is actually covering up an ancient sand dune. The tours are being held Friday afternoons and select Sunday mornings. And Joe, the tour is guaranteed sinkhole-free. It's completely safe.
That's the key, guaranteed sinkhole-free.
Yes.
Thank you, Barbara. New ethanol standards the EPA recently announced could impact thousands of farmers and affect how much you pay at the grocery store and at the gas pump. A law in 2005 created the renewable fuel standard, which sets yearly volumes for how much ethanol and other advanced fuels are mixed into gasoline. The EPA's new ethanol standards are lower than those previously required. The agency maintains that the new targets represent, quote, responsible growth. But as Sarah Whitmire reports, Indiana farmers are accusing the EPA of giving into the oil industry by limiting ethanol use.
When you pull in to fill up at most gas stations, you might not put a lot of thought into what's going into your tank. Some pumps are clearly labeled with E90 or E85. These labels represent how much ethanol is in the gasoline. But the regular fuel that gas stations sell also contains ethanol, about 10%.
We need higher blends in gasoline. We need 15%, 30% mid-level blends. We need to allow the consumer to choose.
In addition to representing the Indiana Ethanol Producers Association, Dave Hudak manages this Poet ethanol plant about an hour northeast of Indianapolis, where corn is ground into a fine dust that's eventually processed into liquid ethanol. The EPA mandates how much of that ethanol is blended into the fuel supply. The agency is supposed to set new levels each year, but it hadn't since 2013. The new levels announced at the end of last month require refiners to use less ethanol than previously mandated. 16.3 billion gallons of renewable fuel this year compared to the old mandate of 20.5 billion, and 17.4 billion gallons next year, 4.85 billion gallons less than the previous mandate.
We're just disappointed that the EPA didn't follow the standard. They chose to arbitrarily pick another number.
The EPA maintains it wasn't an arbitrary decision, as Hudak calls it. The agency says the old targets were too aggressive. People are driving less and therefore using less gasoline. And many engines aren't able to run on a blend that contains more than 10% ethanol.
The ethanol industry and the farmers in the agricultural industry, they did what they were supposed to do. Our job was to produce the amount of ethanol and continue to produce at the volumes required. So we did. The oil company's job was to find the way to deliver it to the consumers, and they drug their feet on it. And so now we're at a situation where the only way to get more ethanol in to the consumer is to add it to the existing gasoline supply, and of course they're reluctant to do that.
Hudak says Indiana ethanol producers can produce about 1 billion gallons of ethanol each year, so the EPA's new standards will impact the agricultural industry and farmers like Chris Mann, whose livelihood depends on corn.
We produce about 4,000 acres of corn around Cloverdale, Indiana, and about 50% of that corn goes to our local ethanol plant for ethanol production.
Indiana farmers saw the price of corn double when the EPA initially established the renewable fuel standard. It's relatively stable now in the $4 range.
It's been a tremendous profitable situation for Indiana farmers to have ethanol as another usage of corn. We grow way more corn in this state than what we need for food or feed, and adding ethanol as a use for that, allowing corn to be used as a fuel, has been just tremendous for the Indiana rural economy.
But the ethanol industry has its opponents, and the debate has made strange bedfellows of oil companies who compete with biofuels and certain environmentalists. Both advocate for lowering the ethanol mandate.
We're using about 40% of our corn production to produce ethanol. So that takes a big environmental toll. One, it's bad for the climate. It increases carbon emissions because when you plow up soil and grassland, you're increasing carbon emissions. Another one is water quality. Corn is one of the most resource-intensive crops that we grow. It requires more nitrogen fertilizer than almost any other crop. And that fertilizer runs off into waterways, making local water more expensive to treat.
Lignocellulosic material, that's the fancy word for the woody waste that's left over after you harvest plants.
Peter Schubert directs the Richard Lugar Center for Renewable Energy, headquartered at IUPUI. He says while the EPA's proposed requirements are disappointing, they are practical. He argues the real future of biofuels lies in cellulosic-based ethanol that's created from crop waste products like corn husks, and it's relatively environmentally friendly.
Corn-based ethanol is often called a bridge fuel that would fill the gap until the technology is ready to do the cellulosic-based ethanol, and that makes a lot of sense. But then once you've established that as an industry, then now that industry will want to protect itself and perpetuate itself as well. And that's good for corn farmers. It keeps corn prices up, and it's a domestic supply, so there's a lot of really good reasons to do that. But at the same time, that needs to be balanced with the research and development and the loan guarantees and the infrastructure required to do the second generation portions.
By lowering this standard, Schubert says there's less pressure on the industry to come up with ideas for more efficient alternative fuels and make them more economical. And in recent years, Schubert says the amount of money the federal government spends on renewable energy research has actually dropped. That means there's less money for the kind of research done here at the Lugar Center that could lead to advanced alternative fuels.
The new EPA rules have to go through a public comment period before being adopted. That comment period ends July 27th. Well, and all those cat videos you've been watching on the internet could actually be positively affecting your mood. That's right, cat videos can be good for you. An Indiana University study surveyed nearly 7,000 people about their cat video viewing habits, and participants reported feeling more energetic and more productive after watching cat videos.
For most people, it improves their mood. Specifically, they reported after watching internet cat videos that they felt more hopeful, more positive, in general more inspired, and they tend to feel also less anxious, less angry, so we saw a decrease in negative emotions.
Myrick says more research still needs to be done. Lucky her. Well, that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. And by WTIU members. Thank you.